Vanakkam Dohadeva. Happy to be with everyone today. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So you can see in the background, if it's big enough, on your screen there, usually there's a Nataraja back there, a small one. Today there's a big Palani back there. So it has a story. Earlier today I gave a 5-minute video talk at the Concord, California Shiva Murugan Temple annual fundraiser. They invited me to give the opening talk. And as most of you know, Gurudeva founded that temple. And then after a few years, the local Hindu community took it over at Gurudeva's request. So they're building a separate new temple building. They've been using the building that we bought, which was an old church. And now they're building a traditional temple as it is built in North America, which requires heating for the winter and air conditioning for the summer. It's not required in Hawaii. So I thought I'd show you a few photos. I guess I have to share the screen first. Okay, well, let's share the screen here. There they are. Okay, you can see the Silpis there. That's the Silpis arriving in Northern California in April. These are plaster Silpis or mortar Silpis. They're not Silpis that carve granite. Two types of Silpis in South India. You can see here some of the finished work. Roof ornamentation. And this one's particularly impressive. It's a whole outside wall there. They've completed the ornamentation on. Very nice looking. So nice to see that moving along despite the challenges of bringing Silpis from India, bringing containers from India, etc. that COVID-19 has made much more complicated and expensive. We have our first topic. Let me move this here. There it is, okay. Challenges in spiritual progress. Oh, it's scheduled for July 2022, Publisher's Desk in Hinduism Today, and it's first draft, so it hasn't seen any editing yet. It could change a bit. A common perspective on major challenges is that we would prefer a life without them. Why would anyone want to face all these difficult times, to regularly wake up in the morning and be seriously challenged by life? Gurudeva held a different perspective. He stated, "This is why we are born on this planet, to evolve through challenges. We are here for no other reason." What Gurudeva is telling us is that it is actually by living through major challenges and thereby gaining better control over our instinctive and intellectual natures that we progress spiritually. We can compare this idea to Gurudeva's comment on being peaceful. He stated that it is fine to learn to be peaceful in a quiet place, but that eventually you have to learn to be peaceful in the midst of intense activity. Likewise, we need to learn the ability to have good self-control in simple daily interactions, but eventually be able to achieve self-control even when facing major challenges. Gurudeva gives a mystical insight into the secret of self-control, which is that what we experience in the world is a reflection of what is in our mind. You change your own circumstances all the time, whether you know it or not. Even your mind is different today than it was a week ago. The various experiences you have brought to yourself have made it that way. The point to realize is that you can gain an intricate control of the various things that change in and about you. Explains further. Lean the thoughts and feelings of your creation in the right direction and discover how quickly your circumstances will change their direction. In other words, the world responds to our thoughts and feelings. If we change our thoughts and feelings, what's happening in the world around us will change accordingly. This is the secret of self-control. This is the practice of yoga. Try it and lose the habit of concern, for concern is only a byproduct of a part of the mind being out of control. So we don't want to be overly concerned about something. That's not an ideal state of mind, just like we don't want to worry about things. Worry is not a positive state of mind. We want to affirm, visualize a positive future, positive events. And we can't be concerned or worried to accomplish that. So my comment is, in other words, increasing our self-control is not just getting better at handling what is happening outside of us. It also includes right handling of our thoughts and feelings. Moving on, we have a story. Relates to self-control. On a regular basis, I meet with families visiting the monastery. Generally, it is in the morning after the family has attended the Shiva Puja, which is about an hour and 40 minutes long. If a family has young children, the children have already had to sit still for what to them is a long time. Therefore, when they come to meet with me, generally their ability to sit still has been used up, and they need to keep moving around the Guru Peetam room. This particular family had 2 young boys around age 4 and 6. The boys wouldn't stop running around the Guru Peetam. Their running around was of concern to the father, who felt the boys should be sitting still. The boys' running eventually catalyzed the father to share, "You know, I used to be a lot calmer before we had children." And I told him, well, that's the challenge, to learn to be calm when you do have children. So we have a verse from the Tirukural, from the chapter on self-control. More imposing than a mountain is the greatness of a man who, steadfast in domestic life, has mastered self-control. So the meaning is self-evident. It's easy if you are single and live by yourself to master self-control, for nothing to disturb you. But when you're married, have children, have major professional responsibilities, self-control is much harder to achieve. The goal is to learn how to face the extra challenges and be able to maintain self-control. So we have another context next for looking at challenges, relates to astrological periods. And Vedic astrology is a technical subject, which I don't know a lot about. And the example that follows is a very simplified one, but it makes an effective point. We tend to think that astrological periods with lots of challenges are bad. And astrological periods where everything is smooth and conducive to being successful are good. Human nature, right? What is missing from that perspective? What do you think is incomplete about that perspective? That is true in the sense that it's easier to accomplish important tasks in the world when your astrology is free of major challenges. Astrological periods that have lots of challenges can also be viewed as good in that they are good for making inner spiritual progress. So they're good for something when there's lots of challenges, and that's making inner spiritual progress. Through successfully facing the many challenges and thereby strengthening our self-control. I remember Gurudeva once said, "My astrology, meaning the current period, is so good that I have no challenges. I'm not making any spiritual progress at all." So that's Gurudeva's mountaintop perspective. No challenges means no spiritual progress. A reading of a challenging period from one chart is, this period is the start of a more inward journey during which you absorb and take in new information. It is also a time of real determination and giving up much superficiality in favor of in-depth learning and self-discipline. However, it can be a tedious and difficult period for worldly matters, and you are likely to be given extra responsibilities of one sort or another at this time. So it sounds like a great period for making spiritual progress, facing extra challenges. So of course, when it comes to challenges, we don't want to be overwhelmed. We don't want our lives to have too many challenges. But we don't want our lives totally free of challenges either. We want a balance. Enough challenges that we have to increase our self-control, but not enough to overwhelm us. Oh, another approach. In working with a group of Hindu university students at a weekend seminar, I asked the question, what is needed to achieve moksha, liberation? The answer that was given was, you need to realize the self. That is certainly correct, but to a thoughtful person leads to a natural second question. What then is needed to realize the self? What do you think is a good answer to the question, what is needed to realize the self, in the context of the material I just presented? Excuse me. The answer to that is not as well known. The answer is experience in the world. Sage Patanjali in his Yoga Sutras has a verse on the need for experience. What is experienced as the character of brightness, activity, and inertia? Those are the three gunas. It is embodied in the elements and the sense organs. Its purpose is to provide both experience and liberation. So Patanjali is talking about experience. It's needed. In other words, we're not on earth just to go straight for liberation. We first need a certain amount of experience in the world before we will be able to achieve moksha. It is by experience in the world and in facing those experiences in the right way, such as strengthening our self-control, that we eventually end up seeking liberation. But we have to go through the experiences first. Gurudeva gives a mystical insight into what is provided by experience in Dancing with Shiva. Shloka 27. How is our soul different from Shiva? Our soul body was created in the image and likeness of the primal soul, God Shiva, but it differs from the primal soul in that it is immature. While Shiva is unevolutionary perfection, we are in the process of evolving. So evolving in this sense is not Darwinian. It's not talking about the physical body. It's talking about the soul. The soul is evolving. So Darwin doesn't talk about that. It's totally different. Spiritual or soul evolution. So what does it mean to say we are in the process of evolving? That's the question to you. Gurudeva's commentary on the verse has the answer. To understand the mysteries of the soul, we distinguish between the soul body and its essence. As a soul body, we are individual and unique, different from all others, a self-effulgent being of light which evolves and matures through an evolutionary process. This soul body is of the nature of God Shiva, but is different from Shiva in that it is less resplendent than the primal soul and still evolving, while God is on evolutionary perfection. We may liken the soul body to an acorn, which contains the mighty oak tree, but is a small seed yet to develop. The soul body matures through experience, evolving through many lives into the splendor of God Shiva, ultimately realizing Shiva totally in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Even after self-realization is attained, the soul body continues to evolve in this and other worlds until it merges with the primal soul, as a drop of water merges with its source, the ocean. Yea, this is the destiny of all souls without exception. Gurudeva's main point in Dancing with Shiva Sloka is that the soul body, called in Sanskrit Anandamaya Kosha, is maturing through experience in the world. And this happens through an individual gaining greater and greater control over his or her instinctive and intellectual natures. Doing so is what causes the soul body to eventually mature sufficiently to attain realization of the self. Therefore, next time you are faced with a major challenge, strive to look at it as an opportunity to increase your self-control, further mature your soul body, and move that much closer to realizing the self. Bottom line, challenges are great. That's how I advance spiritually. Moving on, part 2, second topic, we have character building workbook, 6th character quality, availability. So we have our 4-step approach. 1, understand the positive quality or define it. 2, cognize its expressions. 3, realize its benefits. And 4, practice its expressions. So understanding it, we'll let you have a minute here to define availability in your own words, and then we'll read the workbook's definition. Availability means always being willing to help others. I practice it when I put others' needs for my time ahead of my own. Its opposite is unavailability. And we have some quotes from Gurudeva on that. The outgoing force of the soul in action brings freedom to the lower states of mind. The instinctive person is ordinarily so preoccupied with his own self, so wrapped up in his own shell, that he cannot give a thought to the welfare of another. So outgoing force of the soul in action means doing things for others. Friends should help one another, uplift one another, stand by one another. A home is a place of companionship with people in it who love each other, who are harmonious and closer inside with one another than they are outside with associates in the workplace or with classmates at school. A home is a place that's so magnetic that it's difficult to leave. In a home, there is love, kindness, sharing, and appreciation. and the inhabitants help one another. It's a place of selflessness and togetherness where everybody has time for everybody else. Then we get our examples. First example, when unexpectedly asked for help, you. Availability. Stop what you are doing and gladly pitch in. Unavailability. Decline to help and keep doing your regular work. Second example, learning that a situation requires your skills, you. Availability. Speak up, gladly volunteering to help. Unavailability. Say nothing, not wanting to take on any more duties. Third example, in a group project, you. Availability. Are interested in how others are doing, ready to help if needed. Unavailability. Are only concerned with your own assigned tasks. So give you a second to cognize its expressions. List 2 or more thoughts, words, attitudes, and behaviors that are representative of people who possess the positive quality. Then make a parallel list for the opposite trait. It's pretty straightforward. Realizing its benefits. Normally we have a scriptural quote. I couldn't find any. So we'll go on to the practice its expressions and we'll look at the exercise. For 2 weeks, when you find yourself balking at a request for help, work to change your attitude by appreciating the opportunity to be of service. If you can't help fully, do what you can. So availability, as we mentioned before, if you feel as an adult that this is a quality you can improve on, then take up its practice. If you feel you're doing well enough at it already, then no need to. Oh, that ends our presentation. Oh.